The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the bustling food festival in Portland. The air was thick with the aroma of roasted corn and sizzling sausages, mingling with the sweet scent of caramelized apples from nearby stalls. It was the perfect setting for a family reunion, a chance to reconnect with relatives I hadn't seen in years. As I navigated through the crowd, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Family gatherings always stirred up a cocktail of emotions. I had come to this festival hoping to rekindle old bonds and share laughter over craft beers. Yet, an undercurrent of unresolved feelings lingered, remnants of past encounters that I had tried to bury deep within me. The idea of facing those feelings again filled me with trepidation. I spotted familiar faces among the throng, cousins laughing, aunts and uncles sharing stories, children darting about with sticky hands and bright smiles. But it was his face that caught my breath. My nephew stood near a food truck, his laughter ringing out like music amidst the chaos. In that moment, time seemed to freeze as I took in his familiar features, how he had grown into an attractive young man since I last saw him. The pull was overwhelming, an invisible thread drawing me closer despite the weight of societal norms pressing down on my shoulders. I shook my head slightly, trying to clear my thoughts as I approached the gathering spot where my family had set up camp. They were all there, engaged in animated conversations about everything from local politics to which brewery had the best seasonal ale. "Look who's here," one of my cousins exclaimed as she spotted me. A chorus of greetings followed, warm embraces exchanged like currency among us. Yet even amidst this familial warmth, my gaze kept drifting back to him, my nephew, who seemed oblivious to my internal struggle. As we settled down on picnic blankets spread across the grass, laughter enveloped us like a comforting blanket. Stories flowed freely over shared plates of food, each bite tasted sweeter against the backdrop of nostalgia and familiarity. Yet every time our eyes met across the circle, something electric sparked between us, a tension that felt both thrilling and terrifying. I tried to focus on conversations around me but found myself lost in thought more often than not. The sound of clinking glasses brought me back as someone poured another round of craft beer for everyone at our makeshift table. Each sip loosened my inhibitions just enough to allow those long-buried feelings to resurface. "Do you remember when we all went camping by the river?" another cousin asked, prompting laughter as they recounted tales from our childhood adventures. "Yes. And how you fell into the water trying to catch that fish," someone chimed in. Laughter erupted again, but as their voices faded into background noise, I couldn't shake off how his presence made my heart race just a little faster with every glance we exchanged. As dusk began its slow descent into evening, shadows lengthened across our gathering spot. The festival lights twinkled above us like stars come down to join our celebration. My heart raced when he finally approached me directly after seemingly weaving through conversations all day. "Hey," he said casually, but his eyes held something deeper, a spark that made it hard to breathe for a moment. "Hi," I replied softly, trying desperately not to reveal how much I felt drawn towards him. "I'm glad you made it," he continued with an easy smile that sent warmth flooding through me. "Me too," I managed, feeling an inexplicable connection tightening around us like vines creeping up a trellis. Just then, an unexpected guest arrived, a distant relative whom few recognized at first glance but who quickly became the center of attention due to their loud personality and boisterous tales from years gone by. Everyone turned their focus toward them for what felt like ages while I stole glances at him when no one was looking. Amidst all this chaos came another revelation. Whispers floated through our group about family history, secrets long buried beneath layers of time that now threatened to surface once more. Someone mentioned how distant branches of our family tree intertwined in ways we never fully understood. It left everyone buzzing with curiosity and speculation about what lay beneath those roots. Yet still that magnetic pull between us remained unaddressed, a tension growing heavier by each passing moment until it threatened to burst forth amid laughter and chatter around us. Suddenly he leaned closer as if compelled by some unseen force drawing him nearer despite everything else happening around us. "What do you think about all this?" His voice was low enough for only me to hear amidst raucous laughter echoing off nearby tents filled with food vendors serving late-night snacks. "I think it's complicated," I admitted hesitantly while searching his gaze for answers neither one could articulate aloud without crossing boundaries neither dared breach openly yet felt so acutely within ourselves instead. Our connection pulsing beneath layers built upon years spent together over holiday gatherings now laden with implications far beyond mere familial ties binding us together still somehow felt fragile yet undeniable at once too. Before either could say anything further though, laughter erupted again drowning out any thoughts swirling between us, leaving only lingering questions hanging heavy like dew settling on grass blades after sunset slowly creeping toward nightfall enveloping everything around us gradually fading into darkness. And then came another moment where everything shifted, the world outside faded away until only we remained suspended within our bubble isolated from all else surrounding us. Lost somewhere deep within ourselves caught up in emotions threatening break free against societal expectations weighing heavy upon both shoulders alike. Just then came another wave crashing down upon shores already turbulent enough without adding fuel fire igniting those embers smoldering silently beneath surface waiting patiently until finally ignited by mere proximity alone. In that fleeting second before reality settled back over everything once more, something shifted irrevocably between us leaving echoes reverberating long after words fell silent amidst festive chaos surrounding life continuing on unaware while ours spiraled dangerously close toward uncharted territory fraught uncertainty ahead. The laughter and chatter of relatives swirled around me, a vibrant backdrop to my internal struggle. I stood by the buffet table, pretending to examine the array of dishes laid out before us. The scents of roasted vegetables and spiced meats mingled with the sweet undertones of desserts, but none of it registered beyond the haze clouding my mind. I could feel him nearby, an electric presence that drew my attention despite my best efforts to resist. Every time I glanced toward the gathering, I caught glimpses of him, his laughter ringing out like music, his easy smile lighting up the room. It was maddening how quickly he could pull me in, how effortlessly he seemed to navigate through family dynamics while I felt trapped by unspoken rules. I took a sip from my glass, the crisp taste of white wine igniting a warmth that spread through me, lowering my defenses just enough for those thoughts to creep back in. "Are you going to eat anything?" A relative nudged me playfully, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she gestured toward the food. I nodded absently, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. The truth was that I had lost my appetite amidst this swirling chaos of emotions. As the afternoon wore on, I found myself drifting toward quieter corners of the venue. The sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the lawn where our families mingled and shared stories. With each passing moment, those stories became more distant to me. All I could think about was him, the way he moved through the crowd with an ease that made everyone gravitate toward him. At one point, he approached me under the pretense of checking on how I was doing. "You okay?" His voice was low and warm, wrapping around me like a comforting blanket amidst the noise. "Just trying to take it all in," I replied softly, unable to meet his gaze fully. My heart raced as our eyes finally locked for what felt like an eternity. Then came another wave crashing down upon shores already turbulent enough without adding fuel to fire igniting those embers smoldering silently beneath surface waiting patiently until finally ignited by mere proximity alone. "Want to get some fresh air?" he suggested after a moment's hesitation. Before I could respond, he took my hand gently and led me away from the noise into a secluded corner of the yard. The world around us faded into nothingness as we stepped into a bubble where only we existed. The air outside was cooler, it wrapped around us like a soothing balm against rising tension inside. We stood side by side beneath an old oak tree whose leaves rustled softly in response to our presence. "I've missed you," he admitted quietly after what felt like an eternity filled with unspoken words. A rush of warmth flooded through me at his confession, a bittersweet reminder of everything that had transpired between us before this reunion had begun. "I've missed you too," came out before I could stop myself. In that moment, everything shifted again. It became impossible to ignore what lay just beneath the surface, the magnetic pull drawing us closer together. A wave of desire surged within me as if breaking free from chains long forged by societal expectations and familial bonds. He stepped closer then, our breaths mingled in the cool evening air as time slowed down around us until nothing else mattered but this connection we shared, this forbidden connection that felt both exhilarating and terrifying at once. And then it happened without warning, we kissed. It was brief yet powerful, a spark igniting between two souls who had long danced around their feelings but never dared cross that line until now. The kiss left us breathless. Reality crashed back in like an unwelcome tide, pulling me away from this newfound freedom we had tasted together. Panic surged within me as guilt settled in alongside exhilaration. What had we done? What would happen next? I shouldn't have, my voice faltered as uncertainty washed over me like cold water dousing flames flickering dangerously close to consuming everything in their path. "It's okay," he reassured softly, though uncertainty lingered in his eyes too, an acknowledgement that we were treading dangerous ground filled with hidden consequences waiting just beneath our feet. But before either of us could fully process what transpired between us or how far we were willing to go down this path together, laughter erupted nearby, drawing our attention back toward family festivities continuing unabated despite everything shifting irrevocably between us moments ago. A distant relative approached with 2 glasses filled with bubbly drinks. They offered them cheerfully while chatting about upcoming events planned for later in summer. Plans meant for all families gathered here today, but now tinged with unspoken tension hanging thickly between him and me like fog settling over Portland streets after rainstorms passed through, leaving behind traces only visible upon closer inspection. We accepted drinks numbly while exchanging glances filled with questions neither dared voice aloud yet still echoed loudly within, hearts racing against time, ticking away ever closer toward inevitable consequences looming ahead if we continued down this path. Moments later found ourselves returning back into thronging crowd filled again, laughter, warmth surrounding life continuing on unaware while ours spiraled dangerously close toward uncharted territory fraught uncertainty ahead. As evening deepened into nightfall, lights twinkled above, creating an enchanting atmosphere reminiscent of fairy tales told long ago, yet nothing felt magical about what lay ahead. It felt heavy instead, laden with secrets threatening unravel, lives intertwined through generations, past, present, future colliding together, forming tangled webs difficult untangle without causing pain, rippling outward, affecting everyone involved whether they realized it or not. And so began another round of festivities, filled laughter, mingling voices blending together, creating symphony sounds, masking undercurrents simmering underneath surface, pressing against walls built high enough keep truths hidden from sight, but not hidden enough escape notice entirely, especially when two souls drawn together against all odds found themselves caught within storm brewing just beyond horizon, waiting patiently until finally unleashed upon unsuspecting world, unaware change would come. Swiftly leaving echoes reverberating long after words fell silent amidst festive chaos surrounding life continuing on unaware while ours spiraled dangerously close toward uncharted territory fraught uncertainty ahead. The evening air wrapped around us like a warm blanket, heavy with the scent of grilled meats and the sweetness of desserts. Laughter rang out, mingling with the clinking of glasses. I navigated through the crowd, my heart racing as I searched for him. The family reunion had transformed into a vibrant tapestry of connections and memories, yet beneath it all, a current of tension pulsed between us. I spotted him at the edge of the gathering, leaning casually against a tree. He was engaged in conversation with some cousins, but his eyes flicked to me every so often, as if he could sense my presence even in the chaos. Each glance felt electric, igniting something deep within me that I had tried to suppress. "Want to join us?" one of my relatives called out, breaking my reverie. I smiled politely but shook my head. The laughter and chatter felt distant, all I could focus on was him. As the night wore on, I found myself gravitating toward him like a moth to a flame. We exchanged brief words here and there, nothing substantial but enough to keep the embers burning. The alcohol flowed freely, loosening tongues and inhibitions alike. I could feel barriers crumbling around us, the weight of family expectations pressing down less heavily with each sip. "Let's take a walk," he suggested suddenly, his voice low enough that only I could hear it amidst the noise. My heart skipped a beat at his invitation. We slipped away from the crowd into a quieter part of the yard where fairy lights twinkled overhead. The cool grass beneath our feet contrasted sharply with the warmth radiating from our bodies as we stood close together, an invisible force drawing us nearer still. "You look beautiful tonight," he said softly, his gaze intense. "Thank you," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. How strange it felt to be complimented by someone who was supposed to be family, yet it felt so right in that moment. We talked about trivial things, the food being served and how our relatives had changed over the years, but beneath our light-hearted banter lay an unspoken truth that neither dared address directly. The air crackled with anticipation as we stepped closer together until there was no space left between us. In that fleeting moment of clarity amidst chaos, our lips met, a soft brush that sent shockwaves through me. It was innocent yet charged with everything we had been holding back for so long. The world around us faded away, nothing else mattered except this connection we were forging in secret. But reality crashed back in as laughter echoed from the party behind us, reminding me of who we were and what we stood to lose if anyone discovered this momentary lapse in judgment. "What are we doing?" I asked breathlessly once we pulled apart. "I don't know," he admitted, running a hand through his hair nervously. "But it feels right." The weight of those words hung heavily between us, tinged with both promise and peril. The thrill of our secret felt intoxicating yet terrifying. Every glance exchanged seemed loaded with implications that could shatter everything we knew if exposed. We lingered there for what felt like hours under the stars until voices drew nearer again, a group headed toward our direction seeking more drinks or perhaps just some fresh air like we had done moments before. "We should go back," I urged reluctantly as fear crept back into my mind like an unwelcome guest at a party. "Yeah," he agreed slowly but didn't move just yet. Instead he looked at me intently as if trying to memorize every detail before returning to reality where everything would change again. With one last lingering look shared between us, one filled with unspoken promises, we turned back toward the gathering where laughter erupted anew around fireside conversations mixed with tales from old family lore, the very fabric binding us together now threatened by what lay beneath its surface waiting patiently for revelation. The next day dawned bright and clear over Portland, a stark contrast to how twisted my thoughts felt after last night's encounter weighed heavily on my mind like an anchor dragging me down into murky waters filled with uncertainty ahead. I busied myself preparing breakfast for everyone gathered at my home, pancakes sizzling on griddles while coffee brewed fragrant filling kitchen air. But no amount of culinary distraction could quell thoughts spiraling endlessly about what had transpired between him and me under those twinkling lights just hours ago. "Everything okay?" a family member asked casually as they entered looking for coffee refills while eyeing me curiously, noticing perhaps something different about how I carried myself today. Was it possible they sensed tension brewing beneath surface? "Of course," I replied too quickly, forcing smile onto face, hoping it didn't betray anything lurking behind closed doors within, heart pounding loudly against ribs begging for release from this entanglement growing tighter around both souls, caught unaware consequences looming ahead, waiting patiently like shadows creeping closer inch by inch, threatening exposure at any moment. As morning turned into afternoon, filled laughter echoed through house once again, but now accompanied by something darker lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently until finally unleashed upon unsuspecting world. Unaware change would come swiftly, leaving echoes reverberating long after words fell silent amidst festive chaos surrounding life continuing on unaware while ours spiraled dangerously close toward uncharted territory fraught uncertainty ahead. The rain began to fall softly at first, a gentle patter against the windows that soon escalated into a furious downpour. The sound enveloped us, drowning out the laughter and chatter from the family gathering in the next room. I looked at him, my heart racing, as we stood together in the dim light of the cozy living room. "Guess we're stuck here for a while," he said, attempting to lighten the mood with a small smile. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil inside me. Guilt twisted in my stomach, battling against an undeniable longing that had been simmering beneath the surface since our first encounter 2 years ago. I could hear muffled voices arguing in another part of the house, their words indistinct but charged with emotion. It was as if the storm had unleashed more than just rain, it had stirred up hidden tensions that had long been buried under familial pleasantries. "Do you think they'll be okay?" I asked, trying to divert my mind from what was happening between us. He shrugged, though his eyes betrayed concern. "They always find something to bicker about." I couldn't help but smile at his nonchalance. It felt good to share this moment with him, away from prying eyes and judgmental glances. The air was thick with unspoken words and shared memories that had brought us here, to this precarious brink of connection. As we settled into an uneasy silence punctuated only by the rain's relentless drumming on the roof, I caught myself stealing glances at him. His expression was contemplative, almost troubled as he stared out into the stormy abyss beyond the window. I wondered what thoughts swirled in his mind, if he felt as torn as I did. Then came a loud crash of thunder that shook the room, and instinctively I moved closer to him. He turned slightly, our shoulders brushing against each other. The warmth radiating from him sent a shiver down my spine, it felt both thrilling and terrifying. "I guess we should find something to do while we wait," he said lightly, though his voice held an edge of seriousness. "Like what?" I countered, unable to mask my nervousness. His gaze lingered on mine for just a moment too long before he suggested quietly, "We could talk." Talk? That seemed far too simple given everything swirling around us, everything unsaid between us since that fateful night 2 years ago when everything changed. Still, it was better than acknowledging what lay beneath our surface interactions. "About what?" I asked cautiously. "About us," he replied softly. My breath caught in my throat as his words hung between us like an uninvited guest at a family gathering. The reality of our situation pressed heavily upon me. We were family, yet so much more than that in these stolen moments alone together. "I don't know if there is in us," I managed to say finally, my voice barely above a whisper. He stepped closer again until there was barely any space left between us. "Isn't there? We've always had this connection." I wanted to deny it, to push back against this pull, but instead found myself leaning into it willingly. "Maybe," I conceded reluctantly. Before I could process how we got here or what it meant for both our lives and families entangled in this web of secrecy and taboo attraction, he reached out gently and brushed his fingers along my arm. The simple touch ignited something deep within me, a spark that threatened to consume all rational thought. "I don't want to hide anymore," he confessed quietly. His honesty struck me like lightning amidst thunderous chaos outside, raw and electrifying yet filled with perilous potential consequences looming over us like dark clouds threatening more than just rain. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he hesitated for a heartbeat before continuing earnestly, "I want to embrace what we feel." My heart raced at his admission, every fiber of my being screamed against societal norms dictating how wrong this was. But standing here now with him felt so undeniably right despite everything else shouting otherwise. "I can't just throw everything away," I replied weakly even as desire surged through me like wildfire licking at dry brush waiting for ignition. "We're not throwing anything away, we're just..." But before he could finish his thought or before reason could prevail over emotion again, the distance between us collapsed entirely as if some invisible force drew us together irreversibly until finally we kissed. It happened so fast yet felt timeless. The world around us vanished into oblivion, leaving only this moment suspended in air, heavy with anticipation and longing, fulfilled finally after years spent battling unacknowledged feelings hidden behind polite smiles exchanged across crowded family gatherings, where laughter masked deeper truths lurking beneath surface-level conversations shared over dinner tables laden with too much food meant for too many people crammed together under one roof, seeking solace amidst familial chaos unfolding all around them, unaware of storm brewing within hearts desperate for resolution. When our lips met, softly at first then more insistently, it ignited something within me long suppressed by guilt, layered atop guilt, piled higher each time our paths crossed during family reunions or casual get-togethers where laughter echoed through halls, masking deeper issues left unresolved, simmering beneath surface, waiting patiently until exposed by unexpected storms raging outside, drawing forth emotions long kept hidden away from prying eyes desperate for release. Afterward came silence again, but now charged with electricity, lingering between breaths shared between two souls intertwined, momentarily lost amidst familial obligations pressing down upon shoulders weighed heavy by history stretching back generations, binding families together even when love threatened to tear them apart. As shadows lengthened around us, cast by flickering candlelight illuminating faces frozen mid-laugh across dining table laden high with remnants from earlier festivities still echoing through halls filled, warmth now tinged bittersweet, knowing full well consequences awaited just beyond door leading back into world outside where reality would inevitably intrude once more, shattering fragile peace found here sheltered from storms raging beyond walls built strong enough keep secrets safe but not immune, threats posed by truths lurking just out of sight waiting patiently. And then came voices raised high, cutting through tension, thickening air surrounding us, drawing attention toward heated arguments spilling forth from another room, echoing through halls, reminding both of us families entwined, forever bound by blood yet torn apart by choices made in moments, fleeting passion igniting flames burning bright, illuminating paths chosen but fraught, danger lurking behind every corner waiting patiently, strike when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. We need to go back, I whispered urgently, breaking spell woven tightly around hearts beating wildly beneath skin pressed close together, seeking refuge amidst chaos threatening unravel everything built up over years spent navigating treacherous waters filled, hazards unseen lurking just beneath surface waiting, strike unexpectedly, catch unaware those daring venture forth without caution, taken heed, warnings spoken softly yet firmly reminding all involved dangers lay ahead hidden behind smiles exchanged across crowded rooms filled, laughter masking deeper truths left unexamined, buried deep within hearts yearning connection despite odds stacked high against them. He nodded slowly, pulling away reluctantly, breaking contact, leaving behind warmth shared moments ago now replaced cold chill creeping through space left empty where once stood two souls intertwined seeking solace amid storms raging outside threatening drown them both entirely if not careful. Tread carefully forward, navigating treacherous waters ahead, fraught uncertainty, lingering shadows cast long across paths chosen leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the gathering. Laughter echoed around me as family members reminisced, sharing stories that seemed to stretch back generations. I stood slightly apart, nursing a drink and watching the interactions unfold. The atmosphere was thick with nostalgia, yet underneath it all lay an unspoken tension between my nephew and me. We had managed to maintain a semblance of normalcy since that fateful evening when our connection had shifted. The kiss lingered in my mind like an unwelcome guest, refusing to leave. I caught his eye from across the yard, and for a moment, the world around us faded. He smiled, a subtle tilt of his lips that sent a rush of warmth through me. "Are you coming?" a family member called out, breaking my reverie. They were gathering for a group photo, and I felt the pressure to join in. It was easier to blend into the crowd than confront what had begun between us. As we posed together under the fading light, I felt his presence beside me, strong and comforting. Yet an invisible barrier separated us from everyone else. The camera clicked, capturing smiles that masked deeper truths. When it was over, I stepped back, needing space to breathe. "Do you want to take a walk?" he asked quietly as others dispersed. His voice held an edge of urgency that drew me in despite my better judgment. "Sure," I replied, feeling both exhilarated and apprehensive. We wandered away from the noise of our relatives toward a nearby path lined with trees. The air was crisp with the scent of pine and earth, grounding me amidst the chaos swirling in my mind. As we walked side by side, words flowed easily at first, stories about childhood memories shared with family members. Then silence fell between us as we rounded a bend where no one could see or hear us anymore. I glanced at him, he seemed lost in thought. "Do you remember when we used to come here as kids?" he said suddenly, breaking the quiet. "Yes," I replied softly. "Those were good times." He stopped walking and turned to face me fully. I missed those days. There was something vulnerable in his eyes that made my heart ache. "I do too," I admitted without thinking. But then came memories unbidden, how innocent those days had been before everything became complicated by adult emotions and desires now simmering beneath the surface of our interactions. "I wish we could go back," he murmured almost wistfully. "Things change," I said carefully, trying to keep my tone light but aware of how heavy those words felt between us. "I know," he replied quietly before looking away into the distance where shadows danced among trees swaying gently in the evening breeze. We resumed walking again, but this time there was an unspoken understanding hanging thickly around us, an acknowledgement of what lay beneath our surface exchanges, something raw yet beautiful waiting just below recognition, begging for exploration despite all reason telling us otherwise. A rustle nearby startled us both. We paused mid-step as laughter drifted through branches from our family still gathered at the house. A reminder that reality lurked close by, always threatening intrusion upon fragile moments shared alone together, away from prying eyes eager for secrets hidden behind smiles worn like masks over faces painted with joy but carrying burdens too heavy for hearts willing only briefly bear them before retreating back into shadows cast long across paths chosen, leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak, waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. "We should head back," I suggested, finally breaking silence again, feeling pressure mounting within me, urging caution against temptation, whispering sweet promises laced with danger lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently, hungry prey, yearning connection despite odds stacked high against them. He nodded slowly but didn't move right away, his gaze fixed on mine, searching for something unnameable lingering there beneath layers built over years, filled with laughter, tears, hopes, dreams dashed against rocks, sharp edges cutting deep, leaving scars hidden beneath skin worn thin from battles fought silently within hearts, longing connection despite fears holding them captive, shackled, chains forged by societal expectations binding tight, keeping them apart even now when desire threatened break free, shatter illusions spun delicately around, lives lived without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. But then, just as suddenly as intimacy had begun weaving its way through conversations, shared laughter, exchanged warmth felt between two souls intertwined, seeking solace amid storms raging outside, threatening drown them both entirely if not careful. Tread carefully forward, navigating treacherous waters ahead, fraught uncertainty, lingering shadows cast long across paths chosen, leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak, waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. A familiar face emerged from behind trees. A family friend who always seemed to know more than she let on about everyone else's lives, including ours, apparently now too judging by look cast toward us, filled with curiosity, mixed concern, shadowed gaze piercing through layers built over years, filled laughter, tears, hopes, Dreams dashed against rock's sharp edges, cutting deep, leaving scars hidden beneath skin worn thin from battles fought silently within heart's longing connection despite fears holding them captive, shackled chains forged by societal expectations binding tight, keeping them apart even now when desire threatened break free, shatter illusions spun delicately around lives lived without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. "What are you two up to?" she asked cheerfully, though her tone hinted at knowing far more than she revealed openly, leaving both of us scrambling for words, struggling explain ourselves while desperately wanting hide truths buried deep within heart's yearning connection despite odds stacked high against them. "We were just reminiscing," he managed, finally finding voice, breaking silence hanging thickly around us like fog rolling and obscuring everything. Clear vision once held dear, now clouded, uncertainty looming large, casting shadows long across paths chosen leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak. Waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. "Oh, sounds lovely," she smiled brightly, though her eyes sparkled with mischief, suggesting perhaps she sensed something more beneath surface exchanges laden, heavy burdens carried quietly within heart's longing connection despite odds stacked high against them. I forced a smile back, though inside dread pooled like stones sinking deep, dragging down, thoughts spiraling out control, unable grasp hold, reality slipping further away, each passing moment spent trying navigate treacherous waters ahead, fraught uncertainty, lingering shadows cast long across paths chosen leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak, waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences. Actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. As she turned away, heading back toward festivities still buzzing nearby, laughter echoing through air-filled warmth, reminiscent childhood days spent together, brighter times, untouched innocence lost somewhere along way amid complexities adulthood brought crashing down upon heads. Unprepared face realities lurking behind corners, life twisting, paths chosen leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak, waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. I glanced sideways at him, then caught breath held tightly within chest, feeling fluttering pulse quicken, heartbeat racing faster than ever before, pounding rhythmically, echoing thoughts swirling, chaotic mind unable grasp hold, clarity slipping further away each passing moment spent trying navigate treacherous waters ahead, fraught uncertainty, lingering shadows cast long across paths chosen leading nowhere good, promising only heartbreak, waiting patiently just around bend, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain, fraught peril ahead. The air was thick with tension as I stood at the edge of the family gathering, trying to gauge the mood. Laughter echoed around me, yet it felt distant, like a fading melody that no longer resonated with my heart. 2 years had passed since that fateful encounter, and now, here we were again. The island loomed ahead, a picturesque setting for what should have been a joyous reunion. Instead, it felt like a stage set for drama. I spotted him across the lawn, surrounded by relatives who seemed oblivious to the undercurrents swirling between us. His smile was bright, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of recognition mingled with uncertainty. Would he approach me? Would he acknowledge what had transpired before? I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself against the rising tide of emotions. As I moved closer to the group, whispers floated through the air. Rumors had already begun to circulate about our past. I caught snippets of conversations. Did you hear about them? And they've always been close. Each word felt like a sharp jab in my chest, reminding me how precarious our situation was. Hey. It's been too long. A family member greeted me with open arms, pulling me into their embrace. It was comforting yet suffocating all at once. I forced a smile and returned their enthusiasm while scanning the crowd for him again. Have you tried the crab cakes? They're amazing, another relative chimed in enthusiastically. I nodded absently, my mind elsewhere. Finally, our eyes met across the gathering. There was an unspoken understanding between us, a shared secret that bound us tighter than any familial bond could break. My heart raced as he excused himself from his group and made his way toward me. Fancy seeing you here, he said casually when he reached my side. His tone was light but laced with tension. It's nice to be back, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the whirlwind inside me. I heard some interesting rumors, he said quietly, glancing around as if checking for eavesdroppers. Me too, I admitted softly. It's hard to ignore. We stood there for a moment in silence, surrounded by laughter and merriment that felt worlds away from our reality. The warmth of family enveloped us, yet it only served to highlight our isolation. I think we need to talk, he finally suggested after taking a deep breath. My stomach twisted at his words. Where? He nodded toward a quieter area near the edge of the property where trees provided cover from prying eyes. I hesitated but then followed him. Curiosity mixed with apprehension propelled me forward. Once we were out of earshot from the festivities, he turned to face me fully. This feels different than last time, he began slowly. How so? My voice was barely above a whisper as I tried to mask my anxiety. The stakes are higher now, he replied earnestly. People are talking. Let them talk, I said defiantly but felt an undercurrent of doubt creeping in. He stepped closer, our proximity ignited old feelings that had lain dormant but never truly faded away. You know what this means for us if anyone finds out. I do. The weight of those words hung heavily between us. We both understood what lay at risk, families torn apart by secrets and desires too complicated to articulate openly. Before either of us could say more, another relative called out from afar, a cheerful invitation for everyone to gather for group photos. The moment shattered like glass around us as we exchanged glances filled with unspoken questions and fears. Let's go back, I suggested reluctantly, feeling torn between duty and desire. As we rejoined the crowd, laughter echoed around us again, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing beneath our surfaces. Yet even amidst all this joy, an unexpected confrontation awaited just beyond reach. A few minutes later, while standing awkwardly among family members posing for pictures under bright sunlight filtering through leaves overhead, one cousin leaned in closer than necessary and whispered sharply in my ear, "I know what you two are up to." My heart dropped into my stomach as panic surged through me like ice water coursing through veins on a winter's day. How could they possibly know? Had someone seen something they shouldn't have? What do you mean? I managed to reply without letting my voice betray my fear. I see how you look at each other, they said knowingly before stepping back into place for another photo opportunity, leaving behind an unsettling chill that settled heavily upon my shoulders like an unwelcome cloak. The camera clicked repeatedly while laughter erupted around us. However, all I could focus on was that single statement echoing relentlessly in my mind. An accusation wrapped in playful banter yet laden with truth that threatened everything we'd tried so hard not just to build but also protect over these past years spent apart battling societal expectations versus personal desires. Afterward came dinner, an elaborate spread laid out on long tables adorned with flowers and candles flickering gently against dusk's encroaching shadows outside where waves lapped softly against rocks nearby creating rhythm soothing enough almost drown out whispers circulating among relatives, seated close by discussing everything from local politics down family gossip inevitably leading back toward us again. At one point during dinner conversation turned unexpectedly heated when another cousin brought up past grievances involving old feuds within families long forgotten yet somehow resurfacing amidst this gathering. Tensions flared quickly escalating until voices rose above clinking cutlery creating cacophony drowning out attempts at reasoned discussion altogether. I glanced sideways at him again, catching sight fleetingly before returning focus elsewhere, trying desperately avoid drawing attention toward ourselves amidst chaos unfolding around table filled mostly laughter masking deeper issues lurking beneath surface waiting patiently. Ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences, actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain fraught peril ahead. After dinner concluded abruptly due rising tensions spilling drinks onto plates left unattended while people argued loudly about nothing significant, really just distractions masking deeper fears lurking behind every smile exchanged among relatives gathered together celebrating bonds forged through shared history now threatened unraveling completely under scrutiny brought forth by careless words spoken aloud. Suddenly someone announced plans for destination event next month. A family reunion planned on tropical island promising sun-soaked days filled laughter sunshine providing perfect backdrop reconnecting old ties lost time. But beneath surface excitement bubbled unease knowing implications such gatherings would entail especially considering recent events transpiring leaving lingering doubts unresolved hanging heavy between two souls bound together fate uncertain paths diverging leading nowhere good promising only heartbreak waiting patiently just around bend ready pounce when least expected catching unaware those foolish enough believe they could escape consequences actions taken without thought given weight carried forward into future uncertain fraught peril ahead. The island lay before us, a lush paradise bathed in sunlight, yet the air was thick with unspoken tension. I could see familiar faces scattered across the sandy beach, laughter mingling with the sound of waves crashing against the shore. But my heart raced for another reason entirely. After 2 years apart, I spotted him standing near the edge of the gathering, his presence a magnet pulling me toward him. The memories of our last encounter flooded back, the thrill and guilt intertwined like vines around my heart. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The last time we had been together felt like a lifetime ago, and yet here we were again, caught in this intricate web of family ties and hidden desires. As I walked closer, I noticed the way he glanced at me from beneath his lashes, an unspoken recognition passing between us that felt electric. "Looks beautiful here," he said when I finally reached him, his voice low but steady. "Yes," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "It's hard to believe it's been so long." He nodded, his gaze drifting away as he scanned the crowd. A hint of uncertainty flickered across his face. It mirrored my own feelings, excitement mixed with dread about what this reunion might bring. As we stood there in silence, memories began to seep through the cracks of my composure. The warmth of his lips against mine haunted me still, our shared moments felt like ghosts lurking in every corner of this idyllic setting. The others mingled around us, family members laughing over shared stories and old grievances, but all I could focus on was him. "Have you seen everyone?" he asked suddenly, breaking into my thoughts. "Not yet," I admitted. "I was hoping to catch up with you first." His smile faltered slightly at my words, perhaps he sensed the weight behind them. "Maybe we should find somewhere quieter," he suggested hesitantly. "Are you sure that's wise?" My voice wavered as I glanced around nervously. The last thing we needed was for someone to notice our connection and draw conclusions. "I just don't want to keep pretending," he said softly. Before I could respond, dark clouds rolled in overhead, casting shadows across the beach and dampening the festive atmosphere. A sudden gust of wind swept through, rustling palm fronds above us as if nature itself conspired to interrupt our moment. "Looks like rain," someone called out from nearby, laughter tinged with concern as people began moving toward shelter. The storm arrived swiftly, a deluge that sent everyone scrambling for cover under tents and awnings set up for the celebration. As we sought refuge together beneath one such structure, tension crackled in the air between us like static electricity before a storm. "I didn't expect this weather," he murmured as raindrops pelted against the canvas above us. "It's fitting," I replied dryly. "Just like old times." He chuckled softly but quickly sobered again as he turned to face me fully. What do you want from this? From us? I hesitated. How could I articulate something so complex? I don't know, I finally admitted. But being here with you feels different. Different how? Complicated. Before either of us could delve deeper into that truth, voices rose outside, the sounds of arguments breaking out among family members who had sought shelter from the rain but not from their grievances. What's going on? I asked as we leaned closer to hear better. They're arguing about something from years ago, he explained quietly while glancing toward where relatives stood gesturing wildly at one another. Old feuds never die. I thought those were settled long ago. Seems not. He sighed deeply as if burdened by more than just familial drama. We exchanged glances filled with understanding, both aware that our own situation echoed these unresolved conflicts swirling around us like storm clouds ready to burst open at any moment. The rain continued its relentless assault outside while inside our little sanctuary it felt almost suffocating, a cocoon where secrets thrived amidst chaos brewing just beyond reach. I don't want this to end badly again, he said suddenly, breaking through my thoughts once more, an urgent plea laced within his words that struck at something deep within me. If only it were that simple, was all I could muster in response before silence enveloped us once more. A heavy silence pregnant with possibility yet fraught with danger lurking just beneath surface calmness surrounding our fragile connection threatening rupture at any moment. As time passed slowly under cover while raindrops danced overhead, an unexpected reminder life often doesn't go according plan. I couldn't shake feeling something pivotal loomed ahead waiting patiently ready to disrupt everything we had tried so hard keep hidden away. Eventually, the rain lightened enough for folks' venture back outside but not before whispers began circulating among family members regarding tensions rising between certain factions within clan. A reminder history has way repeating itself no matter how much effort put forth avoid it. Feeling restless after hearing snippets conversations swirling around me, I turned toward him only find gaze already fixed upon mine, an intensity sparking between us igniting flames long thought extinguished. And then without warning, the world shifted again when distant shouts erupted nearby drawing attention away from intimate moment shared just moments prior. Eyes darting toward source commotion revealing two relatives clashing over trivial matters escalating quickly into full-blown shouting match. What now? My voice barely rose above din surrounding us as uncertainty crept back into heart once more threatening overwhelm everything else. He shook head slowly, frustration etched across features mirroring feelings brewing inside me two tangled web emotions coursing through veins reminding how easily things can spiral beyond control when least expected. Then suddenly amidst chaos unfolding around us, our eyes met again locking onto one another fiercely despite distractions pulling apart threads connecting souls longing bridge gaps formed distance between them over time spent apart. I can't do this anymore. He whispered urgently leaning closer until breath mingled together almost tasting sweetness lingering air thickening tension hanging heavy between bodies pressed together mere inches apart. Before either could respond further, a loud crash echoed through space causing all heads turn instinctively toward source sound reverberating throughout gathering drawing attention away once more leaving hearts racing uncertain futures looming ahead. Suddenly realizing consequences choices made would soon reveal themselves leaving behind wreckage left behind families torn apart by secrets buried deep below surface waiting rise again threatening drown everything else within storm brewing just beneath calm facade, masking reality lurking right outside reach. The tension in the air thickened as families began to gather in small clusters, whispers exchanged like currency. I stood frozen, caught between the weight of my choices and the reality that loomed ahead. The vibrant island surroundings felt oddly muted, as if nature itself held its breath, waiting for the inevitable fallout. Did you hear what they're saying? A distant voice broke through my thoughts. It belonged to a relative, a cousin who had always been quick to comment on family dynamics. I turned slightly, trying to gauge the mood of those around us. Their faces were painted with concern, curiosity, and something more primal, judgment. The nephew's eyes met mine across the gathering. There was a flicker of recognition, an unspoken understanding that cut through the noise. We had spent 2 years trying to navigate our connection, only to find ourselves thrust into this moment where everything could unravel. "Let's talk," he mouthed silently, urgency etched in his expression. My heart raced at the thought of slipping away from prying eyes, but the gravity of our situation weighed heavily on my mind. What could we say that would change anything? As I moved closer to him, I could feel the distance between us shrinking yet again. "This was supposed to be a celebration," I murmured softly when we finally found a moment alone beneath an old oak tree that swayed gently with the breeze. "Celebration or not, we can't pretend anymore," he replied quietly. The sincerity in his voice struck a chord deep within me. "They're starting to notice." I nodded slowly, aware of how fragile our secret had become in this familial setting. The laughter and joy surrounding us felt like a facade hiding deeper issues festering just below the surface. Suddenly, an aunt approached us with narrowed eyes and crossed arms. "What are you two up to?" she demanded sharply, her tone cutting through our moment like glass. "Just catching up," I replied too quickly, hoping my casual demeanor would deflect her scrutiny. "Catching up? You've been awfully close lately." Her gaze darted between us as if searching for cracks in our facade. "We're family," he said defensively, but it came out more like an accusation than reassurance. "Family doesn't mean you can ignore boundaries." She stepped closer as if daring us to challenge her authority. As she spoke those words, I felt an icy grip tighten around my chest. Boundaries had been blurred long ago, we were well past the point of no return. The guilt washed over me anew. This wasn't just about us anymore, it was about everyone who loved us and would be hurt by our actions. Before I could respond or even think clearly about what I wanted to say next, another family member called out from across the lawn, "Hey! We need everyone together for a group photo." The distraction pulled attention away from our tense standoff momentarily. My heart sank at how easily life continued around us while we stood on this precipice of chaos and confusion. "We should go," he whispered urgently as people began moving toward the designated area for photos. "We can't let them see how much trouble we're in." I hesitated but nodded reluctantly. As we walked toward the gathering crowd under the bright sun filtering through leaves overhead, I couldn't shake off that feeling, the sense that everything was spiraling out of control. Once gathered for photos amidst laughter and camaraderie, I forced myself to smile alongside him while chaos brewed beneath our smiles. The camera clicked repeatedly, each flash felt like another reminder of what lay hidden behind closed doors, the secrets that threatened to tear apart this fragile unity. As relatives jostled for position and laughter echoed around me, my mind raced with thoughts of consequences looming large over our heads like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. How many more moments could we steal before everything came crashing down? After several rounds of pictures were taken and families dispersed back into their own conversations filled with nostalgia and warmth reminiscent of simpler times gone by, a loud commotion erupted at one end of the gathering area. "Did you hear? Someone saw them." A cousin exclaimed loudly enough for everyone nearby to catch wind of it before they even realized what they were saying. "What do you mean?" another relative asked skeptically but intrigued nonetheless. "Apparently they've been sneaking around together." "You know what that means?" My stomach dropped at their words. The implications hung heavy in the air like an impending storm threatening rain upon unsuspecting souls below. "No way," someone else chimed in incredulously before laughter erupted among them, an unsettling sound given its context as if mocking something far more serious than mere gossip about romantic escapades within family lines. I caught his eye again, panic mirrored in both our expressions now as whispers took flight throughout groups gathered nearby. each passing moment fueling speculation further until it became impossible not to acknowledge truths long buried beneath layers upon layers of denial and shame wrapped tightly around familial ties meant only for love rather than betrayal. "We need to talk," he urged again urgently, now pulling me aside once more despite all eyes upon us still. Curiosity mingling with judgment swirling thickly through atmosphere charged with tension electric enough to light every dark corner, hiding secrets waiting desperately for exposure. "I don't know how much longer we can keep this hidden." My voice trembled slightly under pressure mounting rapidly around us both, while fear crept steadily into every word spoken aloud, now feeling heavier than lead, weighing down hearts already burdened beyond measure. "I'm not sure either," he admitted finally after several moments passed where silence reigned supreme between two souls caught amidst storm brewing outside their control entirely. "But we have no choice anymore. If they find out..." Before he could finish his thought, a sudden shout pierced through chaos surrounding all. "Everyone! We need your attention right now." A voice boomed loudly, cutting through chatter echoing throughout grounds, drawing every single person's gaze toward source, sound reverberating across space, filling hearts racing, uncertain futures looming ahead. In that instant, realization hit hard. It wouldn't be long before families confronted each other, leaving futures hanging precariously in balance, teetering dangerously close edge cliff where consequences awaited, eager below, ready devour whatever remained intact after truths laid bare before all. The world spun dizzyingly fast around me as dread settled deep within, gut twisting painfully, reminding me nothing would ever be quite same again once secrets unveiled themselves fully.